Well, hello, everybody. We are live.
Hey, Juan Pond's up in Bangor, Maine. I'm in Croton-on-Hudson, New York. Alec is in near Pennsylvania, near Philadelphia.
Dear Philadelphia. Hello, gentlemen.
You know, Alec mother she'd be so proud of you. You have such good manners. Hello, gentlemen. Good morning. Don't you think so, Juan?
Absolutely.
So, Juan, how are you doing? What have you been up to?
Just busy, with life, I guess. It turns out that I'm going to have to go and travel out to Colorado kind of at the last minute very soon. So we do have kind of a little sad announcement about our schedule. So do you want to talk about that a little bit, Rick?
Yeah, no, you can go ahead.
So yeah, folks, unfortunately, because of our schedules, my schedule and Rick's schedule is starting to get a little busy. We are going to have to skip the happy hour for the next 2 weeks. So we won't have a happy hour next week on the 10th or the 17th. We're going to be returning back on the 24th, but we will be back on the 24th for sure.
Live. So in the meantime, we have the YouTube channel. I think we have about 6 or 8 happy hours up there. So I'm going to put an announcement. So people have missed like our happy hours or the interviews with Richard Burnaby or with Jonathan Scott, the Big Cat Man, or Alec, our friend Don Komarechka. I finally learned how to say that, Alec. Right?
Congratulations.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So I could say that 3 times fast. Don Komarechka. Actually, 2. So anyway, thank you everyone for joining us from around the country, from around the world. I think some people from New Zealand, Alec. I think Alec will be monitoring this session, like all the sessions, and asking the questions. Because while I'm presenting the slides that we picked, I'm not. Well, I could see them if I have my phone, but I'd rather just focus on the pictures. So if you have comments, if you have suggestions, please put those in the window in Facebook, right? Not on YouTube.
Can I Rick, just to give people permission, though we won't be having happy hour, you can open your favorite cocktail of choice and watch past episodes, because that is what people are asking in the chat.
Oh,
yes,
you won't be drinking alone if you're watching a YouTube video. So it's okay to keep. I prefer not to say, but they all know who they are.
Well, unless they delete their comment, I'm going to go look afterward. But that is an excellent idea. So anyway, these happy hours for our new members, they're themed. So this week's theme, this week's topic is light painting. And we came up with this during the session last week. And the pictures are just amazing. After 2 days, I had we had like 3 pictures, right, Alec and Juan? We had 3 light painting pictures. I figured, okay, this is not going to be a popular topic like candles were not. But candlelight was only, 3 pictures after a week. But I think we had, 50 or 60 or 70 light painting images that are amazing. And actually, I was so moved by these. I put together a little slideshow of the pictures. And my friend Frank Dorhoff from Holland, we've been over there in his studio, an amazing photographer. I played guitar on stage with him and Scott Kelby at Photoshop World. He's very, very good at guitar. So he put together a soundtrack where he's playing actually all the instruments, the drums, the bass, the lead guitar, the rhythm, everything. So we would like, Juan's going to play the slideshow and just enjoy. It's only about 1.5 minutes, so you can grab a beverage if you like. Then we're going to come back and go through some of our favorite pictures.
Sounds good. Here we go, guys. We'll be back in a few minutes. Well, folks, that was great. I hope you enjoyed that. And these are the same images we're going to be talking about, right, Rick?
Yes, mostly the same images. We can't include all the images all the time unless we had like a 2 or 3 hour happy hour. So we just try to pick some of them that are educational. So Juan and I are going to comment on these, and hopefully, that people who are new to light painting will learn something from these images. But Alec, what did you think?
I think they're amazing, and I'm inspired to try it because it's not anything I've ever really spent any time trying to figure out. But these are just some of the still lifes. That's what impressed me, are just amazing.
It's not that hard indoors and outdoors. It's really not that hard.
It's really more about experimenting, right?
Yes. Like we were supposed to have our friend Jim Griggs, one of the moderators, on. He posted some amazing pictures. So Jim may be out playing golf, or there's some technical difficulties, so he's not here. But basically, what you want to do with light painting, you have to have your camera on a tripod, and the subject has to be still. So I found, like, when you're photographing people, an exposure longer than maybe 10 seconds is a little hard to get a sharp shot of a person, right? Because, they're going to move just a little. So I find between like 5 and 8 seconds is perfect. But some of these outdoor shots where people are painting rocks are just amazing. So Juan, can we start sharing my screen?
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go.
Okay, so here's the cover shot, and it's just an amazing picture by our friend Louis Kemper. I've known Louis for a long time. I had to ask him, actually. I said, Louis, can we use your picture with putting all the type all over the place? He said, sure. But look how beautiful this picture, this light painting picture is. I mean, for me, it's perfect. We have a great exposure of the sky, a great exposure of the rocks here. Beautiful composition. I also like Lewis's logo here, this little camera. But Juan, what do you think?
Well, I do see a little bit of a surprise in the image. I love the light painting that he did on those tufas. I'm assuming that this was up in Mono Lake or something like that.
Yes.
But do you notice the hand of man in this picture at all?
Oh, over here.
Nope. It's up in the sky. There's a satellite in the sky. Right there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, is going to get harder and harder with all these new satellites are going up. I think Starlink, which is one of Elon Musk's company, is launching something like 600 satellites into space right now to provide internet all over the world, which would be kind of cool. But I think the sky for astrophotography is going to change a little bit. Just something to keep in mind, folks. But yeah, absolutely beautiful. I love the mood of this. I love that glow in the horizon. I think that gives you that perfect mood for the scene, right?
Right. It's kind of like in Photoshop and Lightroom, adding a gradient filter.
Right.
Because that gradient filter, gives you those nice even tones. But look how beautiful the water is, and his composition. It places horizon line near the bottom of the frame. So Louis, thank you so much for this. And, actually we're going to go into some suggestions in a couple of images. I was going to give one there. But anyway, here's Louis Kemper's shot. It is a tufas in Mono Lake, California. It's an amazing place to photograph. And here's another one of Louis's shots. And I think what you're going to find in a lot of these pictures that, with the sky in them, we have great foreground elements, right? Wonderful foreground elements. And I like the way the doors are open in this little cabin here or barn.
Well, Rick, that's to me the most important thing, because if you're just shooting the sky, right? You could be. It doesn't give you a place, doesn't give you a setting. That sky could be basically, unless you're a heavy duty astronomer, you won't know where that shot was taken. It could be taken anywhere in the world. A real astronomer will be able to look at a picture of just the sky and tell you exactly where you were standing on Earth, which is amazing to me. But for most of us, we want to have that foreground element. And I want to, if you don't mind, Rick, I want to just give people, because I'm seeing questions from people on how do you do this. So I just want to give people a really quick a tutorial on how to do this. And it's the same, if you will, if you're including the sky like this, if you want to include the stars, it's basically just like astrophotography. You're going to be shooting a pretty long exposure, usually about, 20 seconds or 15 seconds, something like that. You need a fast lens, usually a wide angle lens. My favorite lens to use is a 15 millimeter, because that gives you enough of the sky, and you can also include enough of a foreground element. And the best lens to use would be an f2.8 or faster, but you can use an f4 if you want to. And the way that I tell people to try this, as opposed to trying to remember formulas and settings and all this kind of stuff, is to set your camera to ISO 1600, set your camera on manual, set your aperture wide open as you can, whether it's f2.8, f2, f4, and then set your shutter speed at 15 seconds. Most cameras will allow you to just dial it up to 15 seconds. Usually when you go beyond 30 seconds, then you have to go into bulb. And the reason you don't want to go beyond 15 seconds is because then the stars don't come out as pinpoints. They come out as streaks. So if you could start with those settings, 15 seconds, f2.8, ISO 1600, take a shot and look at it, and then adjust accordingly. I would start by adjusting your ISO, lower your ISO so that you get a better image with less noise. So if those settings, those baseline settings, you create an image that's too bright, then you dial down your ISO first until you get to about ISO 400. Then I would start dialing down your shutter speed. Now, the biggest trick here is focusing, because at night your camera is going to have a hard time focusing. So there's a couple of tricks that you can do. If you have a bright moon, you could use the moon for a focus point. So turn autofocus on, focus on that moon, and then turn autofocus off on your camera so the focus doesn't shift. But astrophotography is not, it's best done with a new moon, when there's no moon, or up to maybe half a moon. When you have a full moon, it's much harder because you can't get the stars. So, or what you can do is you can do the trial and error method. You can take a shot, see if it's blurry, then turn it a little bit and take another shot. Or you can do what I do, which is I use a dedicated lens that's manual focus. And during the daytime, I focus on infinity on a distant mountain or something like that. And then I take tape, gaffer's tape, and tape the focus ring on my lens. And that prevents the camera from focusing. Now, how to do light painting? Again, that's another trial and error. So you're going to be really exposing for the sky, and then you're going to vary the amount of light you put on your subject. Now, you don't need one of those 1 million candle power flashlights, because if you do that, you're going to blow out your subject. So typically I use a headlamp, if anything else, and just light paint. And again, it's trial and error. You're going to count, maybe 10 seconds painting your subject. Take a look at the results. And if it's too much, then cut back. If it's too little, paint some more. A lot of it's going to depend on how far you are from your subject that you're photographing. So if you're close, that light's going to be more intense on your subject, so you won't need to do as much. But if you're further away, you may need to paint for all 15 seconds of your exposure. You can also do multiple exposures and blend them afterwards if you want to, either or. So, that's a sort of a very, very quick overview of how you go about this. But it's really all about trial and error. Just go out there, have fun, try it out, and you'll be amazed as how easy it actually is. The hardest part is, coming up with the right composition and, and then doing the light painting at the end. Oh, the last tip I'm going to give is when you're outside and you look at the back of your camera, that screen on the back of your camera, when it's dark out, looks super, super bright. So, you have to look at that image and think of what's going to happen when you then bring that image to your computer. It's going to look super dark. So don't necessarily go by the exposure on the back of the camera as you're seeing it. You want to go a little brighter, if at all possible, because, when you have the camera out in the dark and the screen on the back of the camera, it has a backlight, it's backlit. So it's going to look super bright in the middle of the night. So you want it to look a little overexposed, if you will. And it's kind of a feeling as to you get once you do it once or twice and you look at what your exposure is. The histogram is not going to help you all that much because it's going to be really bunched up to the left, right?
Yep. All good tips. All good tips. Now you
So Rick, let me just mention Jim is with us on YouTube. Unfortunately, he couldn't get Skype to work, so he added to Juan's comments. So to share with everybody on Facebook Live, he talks about using focus bracketing. And then he also writes, with a high power flash, you might need 2 seconds or 1.5 seconds. With a low powered light, you might need 20 seconds or 22 seconds. Yeah. The low power is much more forgiving.
Right. And, and the thing is, the best thing to do is if you have a flashlight, and you can get these on Amazon right now pretty cheap, get a flashlight that you can vary the intensity. And use the lowest setting possible, because like Jim, rightly said, what's going to happen is, the lower power that you use, the more forgiving it's going to be. If you use high power, you may only have 1 or 2 seconds to paint the entire thing, and you may end up with gaps in the middle. Versus if you use a lower setting, you may have 15, 20 seconds to paint the entire area, and you may be a little more even. Okay.
And here's one of Jim's pictures.
Pretty
Juan,
cool.
those are all great tips. And Jim, thank you so much. Juan, you mentioned that f2.8 lens a few times. And the reason that's important is because you could shoot at a lower ISO. If you have that f4 lens, you're going to need a longer exposure. You might see some streaks in the sky. So I would say if you're serious about doing this, definitely, for lens rentals, borrow lenses, whatever, rent a lens. The other thing that you want to do is, I'm looking at this beautiful composition from Jim's picture. I'm looking at some of Lewis's pictures. That another idea is, if you know where the Milky Way is going to be, if you know what the sky is going to look like, go there during the day and check out your composition during the day. So you can just go back at night. So this way, it'll be dark out. There may be like a tree or something in the foreground that you don't want. So going in the daytime is really a good idea. But Jim, thank you so much. Jim posted several pictures. As longtime viewers of the happy hour know, the moderators, since we were blown away by the awesomeness of most of these pictures, we don't show our pictures, but Jim posted so many pictures. I really wanted to include some of his pictures here. And this one's a beautiful image from South Dakota. And again, all the same principles apply. Like we take landscape pictures in the morning and the afternoon. For one reason, we get these nice shadows. So Jim has the light off to the side here to get these really nice shadows. Okay, so the next picture.
So Rick, before we go on, because I did see a couple of comments in there, I wanted to one of the comments that I saw is that one of the cheapest or more affordable lenses to use is a Rokinon lens that you can buy, usually for $200-300. If you want to use that as a dedicated lens, you can get a 15 or 16 f2.8, one or the other. I forget which exactly it is, and it comes for all kinds of mounts. You can get it for Nikon, Sony, Canon, whatever. So it's actually one of the cheapest ways to get into it if you want a dedicated lens that's going to be nice wide angle and fast. My personal favorite is actually this lens from a company called Loa, and this is a 15 millimeter f2, which is faster than a 2.8. And is really nice and compact. It's also manual focus, so that I can tape it once I get the infinity focus. And you can, this was initially made for Sony, but I believe they now make it for other mounts as well.
Cool. You mentioned that.
And Rick, sorry, so just to be the voice of Jim, he mentions that he agrees with Juan on the Rokinon. He actually has a 12 2.0 that's relatively inexpensive. And he also suggests that if you want to have fun, he uses the Sky Safari app to locate the Milky Way ahead of time.
Yep.
Yeah, that is definitely a cool app. It shows the constellations. You pointed up in the sky, right? It shows you where the constellations.
Yeah. There's a bunch of different apps. I use actually PhotoPills has it too, so you can use PhotoPills to locate where the Milky Way is. And I use another one called Sky something or other. Not Sky Safari, but there's a bunch of different ones. But if you want like the all-in-one app, PhotoPills can also help you there, and actually can help you figure out because that length of that you're going to use for the exposure is going to vary depending on your focal length. So the wider the focal length, the longer you have. So that's why I like the 15 millimeter, because it gives you up to 20 seconds or so before you start getting streaks on the stars. If you use a longer lens, you get less time. And PhotoPills helps you calculate that as well. So anyway, let's get on with the pictures. I want to make sure we show people's pictures.
Well, enough tech talk.
Well, anyway, we are going to talk tech for just a little bit. So Corky Clifton posted this picture. I thought it was an amazing picture, but I thought it might be a little dark. Juan was talking about this. It's going to look really bright on the back of your on your LCD monitor. So brighten it up. So here's his picture. Here's it posted on the page, and he's talking about it. So what I did is, the first thing I do when I look at any picture is I check the levels. And I looked at the levels in this, and I saw that, as Juan said, is going to be bunched up, way over to the left. So what I did is I just adjusted the levels. You could do this in Lightroom too. And I brightened up the picture. So here's Corky's original picture. And here I brightened. Now, this is all subjective. I asked him if I could do it. And he said, okay. And then he agreed that this picture brightened up had a little more impact than this picture. But again, this is all subjective. But what Juan said is really important. I think the biggest mistake people make when they're doing these light painting, and just look how beautiful these stars look in here. The biggest mistake is they underexpose. So the danger or the problem of underexposing, as Juan knows, is that when you move the histogram like this, when you adjust your exposure, you get more noise. So the more underexposed the picture is, the more noise you're going to get. So this is why you really want to get it right in camera.
Yeah, I mean that's a great tip, Rick. And folks, in order to help you remember that, whenever you move that exposure slider, or whenever you move those sliders to the right in Lightroom or in Adobe Camera Raw, you're adding, or not adding, but you're exposing the noise. You're bringing the noise out. So to the extent that you can move sliders to the left as opposed to the right, the better off you are. I mean, you can't always do that. In a lot of cases, you want to move that slider to the right. But every time you move that slider to the right, you're highlighting the noise. So it's something to keep in mind.
Absolutely. And just getting back to the focusing in on infinity, I think we should also point out that a lot of lenses have an infinity marker.
Yeah.
This is the last place, right, you want to set
right
focus for night, because it's
a lie.
It might work and it might not work depending on the lenses. But anyway, this is look at this. I don't know if Corky had someone else painting this arch here with light and this
beautiful
tree. And this path here, Susan, I think.
This is in the Arches National Park. I've been there many times. I've shot right from that angle. Beautifully done.
I mean, everything is perfect about this image. So this picture was underexposed. So Ollie Moss, I think this is the first time Ollie has posted here. I thought this was a very creative idea. He got a lot of comments on this. Beautiful sky again, but here, just like in any photography, if you take a shot like on the automatic exposure mode, all this dark area is going to fool the camera's meter into thinking the scene is darker than it is, and you're going to get an overexposed area here. So what I did is I did the opposite. So I toned down that. Again, this is all subjective. Some people might like this, but I like to see a little more detail here. But again, beautiful. I can make this a little larger. Beautiful composition, and really a good idea, don't you think, Juan?
Oh yeah, this is beautiful. This is awesome, and I like your version a little better, a little darker, so that we get to see more of the detail on that TP. That is just a little too bright, and that foreground is also taking a little bit of attention from me. So I love the dark one because it really focuses my eye on that Milky Way as well as the TP. Absolutely beautiful. I love this. This is amazing.
It goes back to what we always say: expose for the highlights, right?
Right.
So this I didn't do it.
I'm sorry, Rick. We do have a couple before we get too far away from it. Corky did share a couple things. So the first thing he says, the filtered I did a filter 5 stars to get a I did filter 5 stars to get a defined look. The arch was accidental, the lighting, by someone dropping a LED light in the arch. It
That's
was
awesome.
dim, but it lit the arch. But luck goes to the prepared.
Yeah.
And the part that makes me the most jealous or envious, I should say, Corky, is I did brighten the image, as Rick said. In printing it, I printed it on metal, so you can only begin to think what that looks like as a metal print. So
cool.
Nice job. Thank you for letting us know, Corky.
Thank you, Corky. Thank you so much. Now here's a shot by okay, we went through this. Stephen Wilson. Again, the same thing. This is a little overexposed here. So we always want to expose for the highlights. So what I would have done here is I would have underexposed just a little bit. Also, this looks like the structure is leaning over. So I might, sometimes I say embrace the distortion, and sometimes that's great. Maybe just straightening that out just a little bit in Photoshop or Lightroom would have helped. But I just think this just a little overexposed here. So we really have to watch our exposure. Just like if you come on a workshop with Juan and I, we have a couple planned for Cuba and Bosque del Apache later this year. Thing is, we want to expose for the highlights because it's much easier, even though you get noise, it's much easier to bring out stuff in the shadows than to tone down the highlights. I don't think that we could tone down the highlights enough here to get back the detail.
Rick, the other thing is like you said, the structure looks like it's leaning. So that's something I would definitely correct. But also, it just looks like they had just one light that they didn't move very much onto that part of the scene. You want to be able to move that light to paint the entire area. That's why it's called light painting, because we're kind of like painting with a light beam. But something to keep in mind in an example like this, where you have a tall structure, guess what? You're going to have to spend a little more time on the top part of the structure than you're going to do on the bottom part of the structure, because the top part is further away, so the light's going to be a little dimmer than the bottom part of the structure. So when you're light painting, that's something to keep in mind. You got to pay attention to the distance of things when you're photographing them.
But thank you, Stephen, for showing. Now, look at this picture. Juan, have you ever been here?
Wow. I have not. Where is this?
Okay. This is a place. It's Mesa, as Nick Page would say, Mesa Arch.
It's not Mesa Arch.
He doesn't want people to know where it is. Okay.
Right.
This is a place our members can do a search. It's called Little Finland. It's a few hours outside of Las Vegas. A good friend, Alan Duff, an amazing photographer. Not a professional photographer, but I challenge any professional photographer who's watching to get a shot as cool as this. So it's called Little Finland because all these rocks, they're just so thin. You can't tell how thin these rocks are. So it's it's not that large location, but the rock structures are just amazing. And that Alan went out there at night and painted this. And he has a nice even exposure. If we go back here, as Juan was saying, it's a little bright here, a little bright here, a little dark there. Look how evenly this is light painted. And getting back to what we were saying before about, can't find it right now, one of the other pictures, lighting from the side. We were talking about shooting in the morning and the afternoon. We have this beautiful side lighting. It's such a sense of depth and dimension. And that Alan got this star right here. I think Alan should teach night light painting workshops.
Yeah. I've heard of Little Finland outside of Vegas, but I've never been there. But it's definitely on my list of places to go. The structures there are super, super neat. And I think, now looking at this, that's the place to go at night for sure.
Yeah. Oh, it's great in the late afternoon too. Susan and I were supposed to go there. We still may go there in January. But again, it's called Little Finland. You need a 4-wheel drive to get there. And I do some research because sometimes the roads are closed. If anyone wants to go, they could shoot me an email and I'll put you in touch with Alan. Alan loves taking people there. He loves photography. And I think, there's an expression that we photograph what we love, we get a good picture, right? You could see You'd see that Alan really loves this. Okay, another shot from Corky. I really like this picture. What I like about it is that it doesn't, this looks like a night painting picture. This doesn't look like, and this is his first try at painting with light. So I say, Corky, congratulations for doing a great job.
Yeah, pretty neat. Yeah, I mean, Amos, you're right. Like, it doesn't look light painted. He must have done quite a bit of painting in the foreground, and it also does look like it's, kind of right around dusk. So he probably just needed to add a little bit of color in there. I do like the location. I think I would have cropped a little bit at the bottom, just because we don't need that much of that grass. We want to focus more on the building. And I do wonder, if he had gotten a little closer, would he have been able to get under those wires and cut the wires out completely?
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know. Scott Kelby has a tutorial on how to take those out like in a flash. But I think, exposure-wise, what are some of these pictures that we really love have in common? A great exposure, an even exposure. And this exposure is just so beautiful. I love this, like sky, like you mentioned, Juan, in Louis Kemper's shot. This glow here. I like the glow. There in Lewis's, we had the blue glow. Here we have that yellow glow, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, we're still in golden hour at that point.
Okay, Glenn Taylor. Glenn has the banner picture this week on the Phototherapy Facebook group page. We picked these pictures for a lot of reasons, including that, they'll fit, and then we check with the photographer because, as Juan and Alec know, and most of the listeners know, I tell people, crop my pictures and you're a dead man, right? Because I don't like people to crop, but Glenn said it was okay. And he said that in his description here, he used the biggest, strongest light he had ever seen. It was called a Cyclops. So Alec, maybe you could do a search on the Cyclops light and see how powerful it is, because obviously Glenn was not too close to these beautiful trees. Once again, look how evenly this picture is lit. There's no hot spots. We have texture and detail, here in it looks like it was a long exposure. So what do you think, Juan? Pretty nice, huh?
Yeah, no, I love to me, the reflection is really what makes this image. And then the symmetry between the reflection of the mountains and the reflection on the water. This image reminds me of one of the images you showed last week of a guitar. Doesn't that look like a guitar?
It does look like the reflection of the guitar. That's right. I should have put it in there.
Yeah, it does look like the reflection of the guitar. And you're right. This light must be super powerful that they use, because it even shone on that far shoreline across that lake. So pretty cool. The colors are amazing. This looks like it was a Vermont, which, just like here, we have some incredible color coming up pretty soon. Yeah, no, I got to figure out what this place is, because it is absolutely beautiful. Nicely done, Glenn.
Well, we could ask Glenn. I think it was taken on a workshop.
Right.
So he definitely.
I see 101 for 130 watts, one for 720 lumens.
How much?
Under
like 100 bucks.
63 to $75.
I know.
There's a whole
amazing,
bunch of them
right?
on Amazon.
We have some pictures of the new Croton Dam, I think, coming up if we get to them. We were using a light like that. Okay, Jeffrey McFeeters, it looks like. Another beautiful shot. I like the tree here. It's not overexposed and washed out. I don't know if this is adding anything to it. Let me see if I move down a little bit. But a beautiful. We're going to get to some still lifes like you were talking about, some fun shots in just a little bit, Alec. But I like this one.
Yeah, I do feel that it's a little crowded. I think I'd like to see a little bit more space around that little tree that's lit up. But I love the fact that Jeffrey was able to line up the tree with the Milky Way behind it. So that either was a completely lucky shot or took quite a bit of planning to get that shot, right. He had to make sure that he went there the right time of year when all those things were kind of lined up. Kind of interesting, so you were talking about the left side. You said you think the left side was a little too much?
Yeah, I said I don't know if this adds anything to it.
Right.
Maybe I'd crop something like this.
Right. I was thinking the same thing and simplify the image a little bit, right?
Yeah. You were going to come up with some Juan Pond isms. Remember, Mr. Ponds?
Yeah,
I
that's
think
right.
give me some space. Uh,
Yeah, give you some space. Give me some space. That's a good one. I got to start
but
writing these down.
you talk about that a lot, and I know you don't like crowded images, and I don't like crowded images. But yeah, so you need, maybe get a Juan Pondsism app. Okay, look at Steve's shot. This was a fun shot. Susan and I used to go scuba diving, and we had these glow sticks attached to our scuba diving tank so you could find someone at night. And I thought this was just kind of fun, kind of whimsical.
That is really cool. Nicely done, Steve. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of this stuff where it's, very creative, very cool with light sticks or flashlights, all sorts of kind of light or sparklers. People use those sometimes. You got to be careful with those because they can burn people. But this is really neat. And I love the fact that the angle that he shot it at, a lot of people would have been shooting this straight on, right? Which, would have been kind of more boring. By doing this little bit of an angle from the upper left-hand side, gives you a little different perspective. I love the fact that you can barely see who this person is. This may be you, Rick, for all I know.
Well, it could be me. It looks, it's gray hair or white hair.
Right.
But the thing is, the person who's doing the light painting is actually in the picture, but because it's a long exposure and the person's moving around and dark, you can't see that. So this is really a fun thing to do. So I'm just loving the pictures that we're seeing. Okay,
wow.
Cheryl Smith, look at this. Let me see if I could, what did I do here? Look at this nice picture. This looks like, a painting, from the Renaissance era, don't you think? Look at the colors.
Yeah, this is amazing. She's saying that these are imperfect vegetables. From my angle, they look pretty perfect.
Yeah, pretty good to me.
Yeah, pretty good to me. Yes, it's like you're saying, it's like a Renaissance painting. This must have taken some time to really figure out the right amount of light to put on each of the vegetables to make them really shine through like this. Absolutely awesome.
Well, I guess it's top lighting because look where the shadows are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, the background could be like really busy, right? It could be, in a kitchen with the calendar and the refrigerator in the back. But because it's light painting, we don't see that. So look what John Fowler says. Come on, that painting is hanging in a museum. Great shot, nice going. So this really does, to me, look like a painting. So in the moral of the story is, yes, we're locked down. We can't fly all around the world to the places where we might want to go. But look at the work that people are creating at home. I think Nancy Lee Mudd took this on a workshop. If she's hanging out with us today, maybe she could let us know. But here's another beautiful still life.
This looks like a painting, doesn't it?
It does. Okay, Harold Ross, I guess he leads workshops. I think, Alec, he's not far from you. I'm not sure. But look at this. I like the separation. I like the background. Again, yes, these are light painted shots, but it's they're illustrating all the techniques that we talk about. Expose for the highlights. Shoot either light from the side so the picture has a sense of depth. This has a beautiful natural vignette. Nothing's washed out over here. We have separation. So really a nice picture.
This actually reminds me, remember, I think it was the last episode that I talked about Ben Wilmore, because he does a lot of light painting work, and he teaches light painting and then compositing them later in Photoshop. Because one of the things that he does in situations like this, because, you may do really well light painting a specific area, but not so others, he will actually do a bunch of different shots and focus his light painting on one aspect of the picture at a time and then combine them together later in Photoshop. It's an easier way than having to get, to do it all in one shot. So, yeah, absolutely stunning. Again, this looks like a painting. I love the background. You know how the background is kind of like framing the entire shot? Really nicely done.
Plus, it's not perfect. Like, look how the peel is coming off. Like, I guess it's an onion here, and look at this drip here. So all this. We had a picture last week. Oh, it was the mushroom. Remember, Juan? There was a bunch of stuff on top of the mushroom, and we both said, "Hey, it looks so natural." So things don't have to always look perfect. Here's another shot by Glenn that illustrates again what we tried to do is we tried to pick pictures that our members could learn something from. This doesn't look like a light painting picture. It looks like a very natural light picture with the maybe light coming through the window. Again, lit from the side, so we have a nice sense of depth and dimension. But look how well Glenn balanced, the main subject here with even the light coming through the windows outside. I think it was amazing. Yeah, Silk Mill at Maryland. Hey, Alec, you could shoot over there.
Yeah, this is really cool.
It's beautiful. And I'm sorry, Juan, but
that's okay. Go ahead.
Ella Davies Hudson says that H. Ross lives in Lancaster, so that isn't too far from Linda and I. So Linda and I are always looking for inspiration. So that's good to know. And Steve commented earlier that the picture is of his granddaughter.
Oh, this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, so Rick, did you when you were what that image reminds me of, the one that you were just showing? That image reminds me when you taught at Main Media Workshops. Did you ever go to Elmer's barn to photograph? No, you would have loved Elmer's barn because it's an old kind of antique place where they sell all sorts of stuff, but it was a mess, and they had like tools, everything was rusted, all sorts of, place for HDR or light painting, because it's absolutely amazing. And the reason I was mentioning that is because this image reminded me of that. And also because they recently went through a process of reorganizing the place. So now it's organized, so it's not anywhere as interesting as it used to be.
Oh, too bad.
Yeah.
There's something else that I like. I like the frame that Glenn used here. And if we go back to Alan's frame, I don't know if our members could see it, but he has it's like a bevel, like a drop shadow on this frame right up here. You can see it on the corners. So these little touches really are nice. Jim Lindbergh, look at this one. Very interesting. He's just actually painting with the light, right? He's photographing the light moving. So this is a good idea too.
Yeah, I mean that is pretty nice. Just creating, not pictures of anything in particular, but actually of the light itself. It's pretty cool. It looks like maybe he had a little light on a string or something that he was spinning around to try to get these really geometric patterns, and he may have done that with two different lights to get that effect. Pretty cool. Yeah, different perspectives on light painting for sure.
Yeah, that's what I like. Inside, outside, the lights, the subject. Okay, my friend Stephen Glima. Steve used to head up the Canon Explorers of Light program, an amazing photographer, great musician. I don't know if he's here, Alec, but
he is. He's here and active in the chat. Yeah.
Once again, lit from the side. And another tip is never underestimate the importance of a good subject. So Steve really picked a nice subject. He has a good exposure of the sky here. This path makes you feel as though you want to walk through here. But a lot of these landscape pictures have something in common, and Steve's picture, I think, illustrates this very well. That when I look at a landscape picture anyway, I want it to look like it looks to my eyes, everything in the scene in focus. So Steve, Juan and I were talking about focusing before. Steve has a nice focus from here, all the way to like 1,000,000 miles away.
Right.
So I think really did a nice job here, Steve.
So Jim, if you go back to Jim's, Rick,
I'd
like to see it.
Yeah.
Done with a pendulum.
Ah.
Oh, pretty cool. Pretty
Very
cool. Must have had an LED to the pendulum as it was moving. Pretty cool.
And by the way, we're really enjoying all these comments. So thank you all for chiming in. Okay, we got a few more to go through. Ron Santini, again, a good exposure. I like that he had the starburst here. Now this barn or this house, might be listing to the left. I don't know, right?
It's possible. It's one of the old barns at the Great Smoky National Park, so anything is possible.
Now, okay, so here we could see that the sky is not as sharp as in, some of these other tack sharp.
Right.
So let me go back here. So I don't know. I think maybe Ron focused here,
right,
or used a wider aperture or whatever.
Well, that's a challenge oftentimes if you're shooting something like this and you get nicely up close. He focused on the barn, and the barn's sharp, but if he's that close, even with a wide angle lens, then you're going to lose your focus on the on the star. So you certainly want to make sure that you do have, check your hyperfocal distance, make sure that both objects are going to be in focus. If not, do 2 exposures and blend them together afterwards.
Also, I might have darkened this. I don't think these dead branches add too much. I mean, this is so pretty and beautiful. So I'd be careful what you light paint. Just because we can light paint something doesn't mean that that we necessarily want to do it. Okay, Lynn Wazicki. I think that's how you say your name.
Yeah,
I've known her for a long time. Look at this beautiful shot. Here we have all the stars in focus. I think we've seen this in a lot of our pictures, Juan, right? Where we have, a subject moving from like one corner to the other. And the way these rocks here are just beautifully lit, not overexposed, not underexposed, just a great job. Hey, Arcadia National Park.
Yeah, that's Eagle Lake in Acadia. Beautiful place to shoot that because you get that nice, beautiful mountains in the background. Kind of a similar shot that I've done many times on my workshops up in on Jordan Lake at the top of, not the top, but in the middle of the park where you have the rocks in the foreground, you have the bubbles in the background, and then there's Milky Way in the back. But again, you gotta time it right for the right time of year to get the Milky Way in the right spot. But nicely done. Like you said, I love the light painting on the foreground with those rocks is perfect, and the reflection on it is very nice. The only thing I would have done, Lynn, is give yourself a little bit more room at the bottom.
I know. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I mean you have plenty of room at the top to cut because the core of the Milky Way is further down, so you wouldn't have lost a lot by coming down a little bit, and you could have gotten some more of that reflection in the foreground.
Shops coming up, one up there that Susan and I can join. And Alex?
No, I'm not. I don't have a workshop my own workshop this year. I'm doing a small workshop for Out of Acadia this year for the Out of Acadia conferences. But my plan is to do one in 2021. So I'm taking a break because I did them for so many years that I was a little burnt out, and it's actually getting a little crowded up there. For workshops and whatnot. So, but my plan is to do one in 2021, and not just in Acadia, but actually spend a lot of time outside of Acadia to the lesser travel destinations that people don't necessarily know about.
We'll definitely keep our members and us posted because we'd love to come up.
I was going to say, Juan, let me know when.
Sounds good.
I have a ready bag packed at this point to start traveling.
Sounds good.
No, I know it's old hat to you, but can we have lobster rolls at the welcome dinner?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can have a lobster bake even.
So speaking of Juan, I think you're too young to know it. I think you're too young to know what this is. Do you know what a slinky is?
Of course. I used to have slinkies when I was little. Of course I had slinkies.
I remember we had slinkies where you put them down the stairs, right? You put them at the top of the stairs and they would go down. But again, Bonnie, she posts a lot of pictures here, and I thought this was very creative, right? Again, we're locked down. What can we photograph? This really popped out. This really popped out to us. Bonnie's image, light painting of a slinky, a toy that I wish I still had.
Yeah,
a marvelous toy.
Yeah, I'm sure you could even buy them on Amazon or something.
Fun and marvelous toy for a girl and a boy.
You remember the tagline. Anyway, Bonnie, thank you. And it illustrates a couple of points. The name of the game is to fill the frame, and a slinky is very reflective. and that she got a good exposure where those highlights. Again, I am a nut. Now, Juan is a nut about the extra space, some more breathing room, give it some space. I'm a nut about, which is good. I'm a nut about exposing for the highlights. So I think this is a very good exposure. Okay, Frank.
But the cool thing, let me make a comment about that image first. One of the things that I like about this is that by focusing in so nice and tight, she is removing a little bit of the reality of the scene, right? And makes it more abstract and harder. Even if you know what a slinky is, you may not you may not recognize it right away.
Yeah. Maybe Bonnie can paint Mr. Machine, the visible VA. Did you ever have those?
No.
Hey, Alec, here's a new topic: painting toys from the 50s and 60s. Okay.
Wow, we're 51 minutes in, and we have the first new topic.
No, don't. We have too many topics.
I know.
It was so funny. Corky actually posted the little song that went along with it. It's fun.
We're
It's
not going to sing it, but he posted it. Yeah,
that's pretty funny.
We can't play it. Okay, well, okay. We
no, he typed it. He typed it all.
Oh, he typed it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Corky, if we could go back, we have in the beginning here, we had the music by Frank Dorhoff. If you want to make a little video of the Slinky song, I can't guarantee that we'll show it, but send me a link. We'll see what we're going to do. Okay, Frank Davis. I think Frank is relatively new here. From a few years back at a restaurant, he said the sign wasn't lit up, so he painted that with a mag light, which I think is pretty bright. So I really like this. I really like the exposure here. I might have waited or asked very nicely, maybe buy this guy like a cup of chowder or something to maybe move out. But some people, Susan likes people in the picture. We talked about Glenn's picture or some of the other pictures. Here where it wasn't perfect. So this is all subjective, but pretty nice exposure and a good idea to paint the sign.
So Frank writes that I reshot this after the light was fixed.
Oh.
But he still preferred the one that he light painted.
Yeah, it's very nice. Well, mood matters most. And I think if we look at all these pictures, what do these pictures, have in common? It's the mood. So, yeah, we're talking about the technical stuff and everything, but it's really the mood. Okay, when I went through this fast, I thought this was like, an African, sunset. But how creative is this? These are little metal cutouts on Mylar, reflective surface, right? With an orange light that is being moved around. Kind of cool, kind of creative.
Very cool. I love how the Mylar, that reflection on the bottom, it almost looks like water, doesn't it? It
does, yeah. Stephen Kessler, he's posted a lot of pictures here. So thank you, Stephen. And we have separation. I thought this was like really cute. We've actually seen scenes like this on Safari. But how beautiful, how creative.
Very creative. Actually,
and, some people, Jay Maisel was big on color. Is big on photographing color. And if we go through these, a lot of these are like, muted tones or whatever. But look how this is like bursting with color. So I don't think this would have the same effect if it was like a blue tone. So great job, Stephen. Thank you so much for posting this one. Okay, we got some time left. Hallie painted this memorial. Beautiful picture of the Milky Way. Again, side light. Again, a good exposure. And I just really like the detail in the sense of depth and dimension. Juan, if I could find that other picture that we were talking about, this one here. This was too much light coming from the side there. But here we have the side light coming in, and it's just the right amount of light.
Yeah, it's amazing how we have a pretty big contingent of people from Maine on the show right now, and another image here from Maine. We've had a bunch of images from Maine. This is right at the Marshall Point Lighthouse, which is an amazingly beautiful lighthouse. And I bet you that most of the people that Hallie was with was shooting the lighthouse, and they decided to shoot this particular Fisherman's Memorial. Pretty creative, and kudos to them for looking for an alternative subject to to photograph. Nicely light painted. I like how not just the memorial is lit, but also all the rocks in and around are lit to give you a sense of place as well.
Yeah, I think Hallie maybe had someone painting the light here and painting the light over here. So it's really nice. And there's a reason why we don't have any Milky Way shots from New York.
Yeah.
You need a little bit of dark skies, yes.
Yeah. But, Breakthrough Photography, I don't know if you know this, they have a night sky filter that somehow or other filters out some of the light pollution. So our members may want to look that up. Breakthrough Photography night sky filter. Alec, I know you're big on those filters. Do you have a...
I have that one, yeah. It's cool. It works very well.
Okay. Here's a challenge. Go out and shoot from Hoboken. Photograph the city and see if you can get anything in the sky. Okay, Debbie.
Not at the moment, but maybe 6 months from now I'll make the trip.
Susan and I will meet you.
Okay.
Okay. Debbie did this shot. Again, it's a nice creative shot, like just of, reminded me of this one. So Debbie, how do you say her last name?
Garofalo?
There you go. Let me get this a little smaller here. But I thought this was very creative, right? Yes, we're home, we're stuck, but we could, I hope the people watching this are challenged and inspired and motivated to say, hey, I'm going to try to get a great shot in my kitchen, in my backyard. I'm going to paint a barn or something like that with light because, this is very rewarding. And again, if it doesn't look great in camera, you can see what we did before. You can adjust, you could adjust the levels and the shadows and the highlights and all this other stuff. She says, I used light brushes, but when they were delivered, my husband thought I was purchasing lightsabers like Star Wars.
This is pretty interesting. And this is one of those images that makes you think, right? That you're trying to figure out what it is that you're looking at. They almost look like water droplets suspended in midair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty
nice.
neat. Yeah.
Very, very nice. Okay. Another shot from Stephen. Yeah, right. So talk about, well, you know what? Wait. Yeah, Stephen likes color. Stephen, if he's here, ask him if Alec, if he's a follower of Jay Maisel.
Yeah, I don't see him, but if you are out there.
By the way, for our listeners, Alec and Juan, have you seen the movie Jay Myself?
Yes.
No, I have not.
It's about Jay Maisel, and it's called Jay Myself because he would get a lot of fan letters, and someone wrote him on the envelope Jay Myself. But it's all about his all the I was going to say another word, all the stuff that he has like in his warehouse and in his studio. In his vault, right? But you'll learn a lot about photography, and it's really an inspiring movie. You might be able to find it online. Jay Myself.
It's on Amazon Prime.
It is on Amazon Prime.
Oh, cool.
So this looks kind of cool. I really like it. Bottles with bright lights. So it's amazing what you can do. Okay, coming down the home stretch, Linda Cullivan.
Oh, look at this.
Look at this this beautiful saddle. Talking about a great exposing for the highlights, lighting with a sense of depth. Juan talked about the background in one of the other pictures that we had here. But I just love this. If Linda ever wants to become a commercial photographer for a saddle company, I think she did well because this is just beautiful.
Yeah, this is incredible. I mean, I'm almost speechless how beautiful it is, how well light painted it is. So I wonder, Linda, did you get this all in one shot? Meaning that you may have had to do a couple of tries, but did you do the light painting all in one shot in one exposure? Just the detail and the color and the light is just absolutely beautiful. And the fact that, we don't see anything else, it's kind of suspended in midair, makes it even that much more beautiful. Really nicely done.
Yeah, we could see light coming from this direction, right? And we could see light coming from this direction. So really, really beautiful. Well, stop sharing. There we go. Well, everyone, hope you enjoyed that. Juan, thanks for setting all this up, doing all the switching and everything like that. Alec, thanks for monitoring the questions. Any other comments that we should address before we
Well, I just want to
stop?
remind people that maybe people that joined us late about our schedule for the next 2 weeks. Unfortunately, Rick and I are going to be busy with a bunch of different things. So we are not going to be able to hold a happy hour for the next 2 weeks, the next 2 Thursdays. So we'll be back for sure live on the 24th. And Steve, I almost called you Steve. Rick's recommendation was to grab a drink and watch one of the older episodes, right?
Oh, absolutely. So we have to come up with Juan, Alec, and I will come up with a topic, or maybe our members could suggest a topic.
Hey, Alec, I have an idea. Can you do like a watch party at 5 p.m. on Thursdays? That way, people could have drinks together, watch it together.
I could think about it. I'll mull that over and let you know. But just a couple of things. Linda did put in the comments that it was one shot, but it
more
took
than one
many
try,
Yeah.
tries.
Yeah. Well, that's what we were saying.
Couple of other programming notes, Rick. Linda and I, Monday meditation is going to be Sunday night at 7. It's a Labor Day edition. So instead of doing a Monday Labor Day edition, we're going to be doing it Sunday night at 7 o'clock, and we're trying out a different time and day to see if maybe more people can catch it live. So Sunday we're going to try and do that. And last week, Rick, I put out a challenge to Freddie Clark to take coffee with steam coming out of it. So it wasn't light painting, and it wasn't picked up for the topic, but if people look under topics and beverages, you will see that Freddie delivered on his promise, and he provided an image of 2 cups of coffee with steam coming out in the Freddie Clark, or I should say beverage section of the phototherapy Facebook page.
Cool. Very, very cool. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a great Labor Day weekend. I think the weather's going to be nice here in New York. Hope it's nice where you are. And hang in during these crazy times. And as you can see, people are still being super creative with their cameras. So we're so glad to be able to bring you this show.
Take care, folks, and see you in 2 weeks on the 24th.